Hey, what's up, guys? Blaine Duncan here from Halloween Lives, the podcast of Michael Myers, episode number 29. Joined once again, as always. Well, not as always. Actually, last week you weren't here. We took a little bit of a summer break. You were off last week. I was off the week before. But back is Austin, my brother. What is up, dude? How you doing? Welcome to episode number 29.
Doing really good, man. And yeah, no, it was kind of crazy. Kind of doing our own thing for 2 weeks, but it was really cool. Like I hope you enjoyed my picks, and I liked watching your episode too.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was interesting because I think, as I talked about, and you may have mentioned this as well, you and I have talked about this franchise inside and out, upside down, every which way, right? I mean, we've talked about everything, but I think to really do that breakdown and to do it separately and to hear what each other's favorite moments from the whole entire franchise was. It was a lot of fun to watch your episode, and we obviously had a few scenes that matched up. And yeah, we might do some more of that kind of stuff in the future. It was just nice to have, I guess, a little bit. I called it a summer vacation, summer break. We each took a summer break, but man, this is Halloween Lives, the podcast, Michael Myers. It's the only podcast out there doing weekly content 100% about Michael Myers. And this is episode 29. We are officially 90 days as of today, as of the recording of this episode, 90 days away from Halloween. So, man, we are heading in the fast lane, going 100% towards October 31st. And I cannot wait to get there. This episode, we're going to kind of talk about some of the things that have happened and transpired in the last few weeks. We've had some very interesting news that has kind of broke surrounding the Halloween franchise, some interesting things that have come up, and maybe a little bit of speculation sprinkled in along the way. But one thing that I did want to mention before we get going, we had made the announcement back on our Live 25 episode that Dick Warlock would be joining the program. We unfortunately got some bad news. He was going to be coming on the show in the next 2 weeks, but unfortunately, his wife sent me an email and had to cancel. His wife is a sweetheart, by the way. Her name is Kat. She goes by Kat, and she's an absolute sweetheart. And she does a really good job of taking care of him. And he's got some health things going on. Nothing that anybody needs to be worried about, but just he needs to focus on his health right now. He's obviously going to be going to age 45, and he's got some other conventions that he's going to be going to. So she promised me that after the fall convention kind of rundown or run goes through, once that's complete, she's going to get Dick on the show. And I can't wait to get him because he's one of my favorite Michael Myers of all time. And I told her that, obviously, our sympathies to Dick for, we have a speedy recovery with some of the things that he's got going on. And all the fans should send him sympathy as well. And again, not that he's, he's not going anywhere. He's not checking out. But he does have some things going on that he needs to take care of health-wise. So good luck to him. But the good news is, in Dick's replacement, I was able to secure another Michael Myers actor who's going to be coming on the show. I can't say one for him specifically because this is just somebody I started talking with actually yesterday. But hopefully here in the next 3-4 weeks, we're going to have another Michael Myers actor. It's going to be one that you guys are definitely going to enjoy. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I feel like, and we've kind of talked about it. Like, it's been a while since we've had a guest on the show, but it's really been fun, just like you and I having conversation on here. Right. Speaking of that, I wanted to ask, with 90 days coming up, do you have any idea what is Blaine Duncan going to be for Halloween?
Oh, I mean, it's very, very, very simple. It's going to be this guy right here. I'm going to be wearing that mask on Halloween night, walking around my neighborhood, scaring the shit out of little kids and being creepy. I've got like a light pole or a light post that's outside of my house on the street. And I was just thinking, man, I'm going to just go stand under that thing and just like not move and just stand there and watch kids. Just be creepy. See if I can't get the cops. You should tell that story because it's kind of funny. You actually in college were you dressed up like Michael Myers. I don't want to tell the story for you, but you kind of got in a little bit of trouble. Tell us that story because it's actually pretty funny.
Okay, first of all, this was like the best day of my entire life. Like everything I've done, all the things that have made me happy doesn't really add up to this day. And my plan was, I think I was a junior or a sophomore in college, and I I wanted to walk around campus dressed as Michael Myers because
and this is Halloween day, right? Like this is actually Halloween day.
It's okay. So I was a sophomore because it was Halloween 2018. It was the year that we got Halloween 2018 coming out. And so I had the full, I think I did Rob Zombie H1 get up. And I put in my pocket the Shape Returns by John Carpenter from the new movie. That was like the single that came out.
Right.
And on Halloween, I remember I woke up and it was like 9 a.m. and I took class off. I took class off like it's PTO. I didn't go to class. And I was like, I'm going to walk around as Michael Myers and try to like scare some people. It was like noon. Actually, I know it was noon because that's like our like passing time. And I planned it out to be out there when the most amount of people were going to be around the student center. So I dressed up like Michael Myers, walked around, and obviously I scared the shit out of some people. At some point we should post, there's lots of footage.
Yeah, that would be funny.
But I walked around, scared the shit out of some people. I had one of my friends was like an RA, and she was like, yeah, there were freshman girls coming back to the dorms crying because they were so scared. I wasn't doing anything that crazy. I was literally just standing there. If somebody, I mean, maybe this was bad. If somebody was like really scared, I'd kind of turn and give them like a little follow, but I never like chased them.
Right.
I made sure to have my school lanyard hanging out of the pocket because I was like, let them know I at least go to this school.
Right. But didn't like school security or something get called on you? Wasn't that part of the deal?
Yeah. So at one point, somebody thought maybe something was up because, things happen at schools, bad things. And, they were just probably looking out for their fellow man. And, pretty soon these public safety officers come up to me and they're like, hey, you either take that mask off or you get the hell out of this campus. And I said, okay. And I walked away from campus in my car because I was like, you can't ruin the mystery.
No, you're invested at that point.
And there were people that I knew that were walking around the quad or whatever that were like, is that you, Austin? Is that you? And, eventually like a group of my friends kind of gathered because they were like, okay, clearly this is Dunk. He's doing something stupid right now.
Right.
But yeah, Pub Safe came. And then I just walked off campus as Michael Myers. Didn't take the mask off until I got back into my own crib. So
that's the best part about the story is they're like, hey, dude, like legitimately, you need to stop doing this. Either leave or take the mask off. And you were like, deuces, see ya. And he just like stayed in character and kept walking around. That's what I think is the best part of that. Is just you didn't break character. I mean, you obviously served that character well and made Michael Myers proud, I'm sure. So pretty classic. You've got some other stories. We'll have to share them on another episode, but you've got some other stories of things that you've done at Halloween parties dressed up as Michael Myers. And that. To answer your question, I know we went through a whole thing there, but yes, I am going to be dressing up. Obviously, I have my creepy customs coveralls. Going to be wearing those obviously Halloween night, but really obviously looking forward to it. 90 days away. 90 days. As a matter of fact, I was just at Michael's store today, dude. It's full blown Halloween there. It's
really
code orange. It's Halloween. And they got some cool stuff there. I'm a cheap bastard, so I'll wait till everything goes on like 50% off on their Halloween stuff in like another 3 weeks. And I never understand why they do that so early. It's like, Christ, Halloween is still 2 months away and you're putting stuff on sale already, but nevertheless, here we are. So let's start talking a little bit. The first thing I want to address is I want to go through some of the guest updates for Halloween 45. We've talked a little bit about this on this show, is that you and I are going to H45. That convention starts the end of September 30th, and then October 1st. Damn excited to be doing that. I'm going to read everyone the list, updated list of characters, or I guess actors, I should say, of people who are going to be at H45 this year. Diva Taylor, who played the character, she was the one, and I'm blanking on her name right now, but she's the one who took in Halloween Kills. She took the light bulb Sandra.
Yeah,
Yep. Jesse C. Boyd, who was the cop, boyfriend cop of Allison. And again, I'm blanking on his name too. What was, he was a, Mulaney, Doug Mulaney. He played Doug Mulaney in Halloween Ends, so he's going to be there. Danielle Harris, everybody know who Danielle Harris is. I had the chance to meet her last year. I should have done it. I'm going to definitely do it out at age 45. Scout Taylor Compton, who played Laurie Strode, obviously in the Rob Zombie remake and Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Christina Klebe, I believe is her last name, Klebe or Klebe. She played Linda in Rob Zombie's Halloween. Jeff Daniel Phillips, who we saw in Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Sylvia Jeffries, again, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Dan Roebuck, Halloween 2, Rob Zombie. And then finally, we cannot forget about the man, the myth, the legend, Ken Foree is going to be at Halloween 45. And damn, dude, am I excited to meet that guy and to tell him, hey, you were on our show. You were, and you know what? I think that's a great opportunity to talk to him. And I like, let's actually try to get him on the show because it's Joe Grizzly Bitch, and we're going to try to get that dude on. Just an awesome guy, awesome actor, and I'm excited to get to meet him. So what do you think about that guest lineup?
Ken Foree is a day 1, minute 1 autograph for me. Like, yeah. I think like they were the people we expected. And then like now, especially now we're sort of moving into the Rob Zombie movie. People are starting to show, or they're starting to say, hey, these guys are also going to be here, which is cool because I'm glad that we're like celebrating every part of the fandom, including Halloween 3 as well too. Sure. Ken Foree, so excited to meet him and just be like, dude, you have been like a big part of my brother and I's friendship for years now. But
good old Joe Grizzly Bitch. I'm excited to meet him. Very excited to meet him. I actually saw him at a convention as well. Much smaller dude than I thought he was going to be. I always think of, Joe Grizzly obviously going eye to eye with Tyler Mane, who plays Michael Myers in Rob Zombie's Halloween. And I always think of him as this big dude, and I was bigger than he was. So very, very funny to see him. But yes, I agree. He is going to be on the list. I mean, honestly, I'm going to be broke as a joke. Let's just be honest. Like, we probably aren't going to have a podcast after Halloween 45 because I'm not even going to be able to pay my internet bill once I'm done. So maybe we'll start like doing blogs or something from like a library. I don't even know. But we're going to do. But somehow I got to figure out a way to pay for all the autographs I'm going to get. But there's some other things that are going on in the Halloween franchise world that we really just want to talk about in this episode. Some things that started a few weeks ago. We didn't talk about them when they happened because I wasn't exactly sure really how much truth there was to these rumors or to these stories. But I love the fact that the wheel for the next step, the next movie, the next whatever of this franchise is starting to churn a little bit. It's slowly starting to move. We weren't exactly sure how fast or how quickly things were going to happen with us just getting Halloween Ends this last year in October of 22. But it seems to be that there are things actually happening behind the scenes at Trancas International with Malik Akkad. And we had a report on July 19th. So this was a few weeks ago that Cinestealth via Film Leaks. And I think you might follow these guys on Twitter. I'm not a Twitter guy, but you are following these guys. And I want to read what they posted because it was very interesting, and there's a lot to sort of unpack here. So with just a little tweet, this is what they said. Executive producer Malik Akkad has already heard multiple pitches, formal and informal, about where to take the Halloween franchise next. But nothing is set in stone, and any ideas will need to be shopped around to new studios / distributors. Blumhouse is out. TV series is on the table. So we obviously got that. We have really no source for this necessarily, but you know more about this than I do because you follow these guys, and you also know that they were very much in the know with the David Gordon Green trilogy and what was going to happen. So walk us through what you know about this, and I guess how much validity you put into this tweet.
Well, the first thing I'd say is, don't take it with a grain of salt, but maybe like a pinch of salt. I think there is some validity to it. It's maybe we're playing telephone and this is where we've come to. But I am like, and it's not hard to be in the know online, but I would say I'm part of this like larger group of people on Twitter that follow movies and are in on, a little bit of behind the scenes stuff. It was huge during Halloween Ends. And like I said, ended up basically knowing line by line the movie of Halloween Ends by the end of doing this. So that's why I say take it with a little bit more than a grain of salt. I mean, this could turn out to be bullshit. There's always that chance, but I feel like it's worth talking about on the show, because I'm, this circle of people on Twitter, which is now X, by the way, which is a whole other can of worms. But they're all in the know. I think there's probably some merit to it. I know with Blumhouse out, which I think most people probably could have expected, there's sort of a vacuum there for other production companies to jump in and go, okay, obviously we've got a very profitable intellectual property to go after here. Somebody's got to hit them with the plan. And I think maybe 10 years ago, even, people would have maybe let things rest a bit. But I think just now with how quick things move, you got to strike while the iron's hot and at least get in Malik's ear before somebody else does. And it sounds like multiple people are, which even if it comes out that the TV show thing isn't real, I absolutely believe Malik Akata's had multiple meetings with production companies, with directors, writers, whatever. People want to get in on this. And the TV show thing seems to be the most credible.
Yeah, well, and I think so. A couple things. Let's unpack it even further. So number one, well, first off, I agree with what you're saying. That I think, even though for me personally, I would probably rather get more movies, I would be interested in seeing what they would do with a TV show. I think we've kind of talked about this in the past, that there's, let's go back in time, right? Let's go back to do a Bates Motel version of Halloween, where you go back, it's almost like a prequel. Maybe that first episode picks up right after Halloween night 1963, after Michael, just killed his sister. And, maybe season 1, he's that 6-year-old boy. Season 2, he's 15. And season 3, he's Michael at age 21 getting ready to escape, right? I mean, and tell that story of Dr. Loomis and sort of his descent into madness as he grows, and his understanding of what Michael is becomes bigger, and he realizes that Michael is this purely and simply evil character. So that is something that I would be very interested to see. I don't see, and this is just me spitballing here, but I don't see them making like a TV show where it's like a spin-off, or as far as like it taking place in Haddonfield and it's like a whole new cast of characters. I think that would be really hard to do, because I think the true fans of this franchise are kind of set in stone with a lot of the true characters that we've seen. And it's going to be harder and harder to introduce new characters. I think they have to bring it or attach it to some storyline that has already been created. Now, I'm not saying that there's not an opportunity or a way to do that, because I think there is. I think you could take it back and, have there be a Laurie Strode character. But again, I don't know that would be successful, because I think people really would want to see Jamie Lee Curtis in that role, and that's never going to happen. So I think there's some opportunity to do that. But you mentioned it, strike while the iron is hot. I think that's where we're at with this thing, right? We just saw the David Gordon Green trilogy come to an end with Halloween Ends in October 2022. And we're now at this point where, holy shit, they just killed off the killer in this franchise. We know Michael will never die. We know that he will live on in some form. But now the question becomes, what are they going to do with him, and what direction will they take this franchise? I don't know that there's a way to continue to push that that ball down the field in current times, because at a certain point you're going to have a 75-year-old Michael Myers running around, and it's just not, it doesn't make sense, right? And I think that's what a lot of people sort of bitched about with Halloween Ends, is that Michael was old and he was beat up and he was, he wasn't the same brutal Michael Myers that we've seen. So I think at some point they are going to have to kind of rewind and maybe attach him or attach that story back to a previous storyline and run with that. But the iron is hot. It's time to strike. If they're going to do something, let's get that ball rolling. I'm just very excited to hear that we are getting that so quickly, because quite honestly, I didn't expect for us to even be really having this conversation for at least another probably 3 years. I thought if anything, we're going to get a TV show announcement, and maybe we will. But I thought we'd get that TV show announcement, and then any movies would be further down the line. But we did have an update to this story, and it just broke yesterday. And I want to read this. And this is from Halloween Movies on Facebook. And I don't know this for a fact. And if Matt Arts from Halloween Daily News is watching, Matt may be connected to Halloween Movies on Facebook. I don't know, but I do know that their HalloweenDailyNews.com is listed on the Halloween Movies Facebook page. But yesterday, breaking news came through Halloween Movies, and it said several, in all capitals, several future projects for the franchise will be announced at Halloween 45. So that is sort of confirmation that maybe what we got back on August 19th, there's some credibility there, and that we might be able to count on something being either developed or, start that ball starting to roll down the field, I guess, towards the next thing. I'm super excited to hear that.
Yeah. So that one is interesting to me, just because I don't know what to make of it, if it's real, if it's not. But let's put away any doubt and just enjoy that thought for a minute. If they wanted to really expand on this thing and create sort of a universe of films, I'm super down. I'd love to see what they're going to do. Anything that has a multi-film plan means to me that it's well thought out, and I really hope that is one of the course of actions they're going to take with this franchise. So we're going to have to wait and see if that one's legit, because that would be so badass. I would love to, we haven't talked about it, but we did briefly mention, I'm not sure a TV show would do it for me. I really want to go to the theater and see Michael Myers. Now, that being said, I haven't paid attention to the Chucky series. I know it's been picked up for a couple seasons, so it must not be too bad. And I'm really going to be keeping a keen eye on this Friday the 13th series, because if it is what we're getting, I want to know that there's some hope that such a show could be good. But man, if you look at what Saw's doing, they're doing prequels, sequels, kind of reboots, pre-boots, whatever. They're making it work to this day. And I think that's a really realistic possibility for Halloween. And if there are multiple products or projects released at age 45, I might be banned in LA after that news.
Yeah, somebody's getting naked.
Absolutely.
We're not getting naked. But I will say that if there's any sort of announcement that Malik Akkad is going to be doing a presentation or a Q&A or something like that, we need to be in line for that thing immediately, because that would obviously be where it would come from. Here's my problem with all of this news. And I don't know, again, I don't know where the source of this information, but there is a writer's strike going on in Hollywood right now. I think everybody is probably very well aware of that. One thing that I just learned, just reading through another convention's Facebook page, is that they just announced that any guests will not be, because of the writer's strike and because of everything that's going on with that they will not be able to do, if the strike is still going on, they're not going to be able to do Q&A sessions about past projects or future projects. Okay. So I'm not saying that that's going to be the case at H45, but I am saying that there is another convention that I was just reading about where they've already said that, made that announcement that most likely guests will not be able to talk about previous films or future films. So here's kind of the sticky wicket, if you will. Here's the thing that I am a little bit nervous about with some of this information is that if that is true, if there really are things going on behind the scenes, I don't know that we're going to be able to get any of that. And quite honestly, from what I understand is that if there are those kind of meetings that are happening behind the scenes, that is kind of goes against the writers strike, writers union, whatever, because you would have to have some sort of, writer or develop something with development in those meetings to talk about what this would look like. So that's like the really confusing part for me is that we're getting this information and it's very exciting. But at the same time, I'm going, man, with what's going on in Hollywood right now, like they're not making movies right now. Like nothing, like the whole industry is shut down. So yes, does it seem like a really good time to be having these discussions about what the future looks like for this franchise? Absolutely, it does. But from everything that I know, and I do have some friends who live out in Hollywood and who are in the industry, my understanding is that because everything is shut down, like nobody's allowed to talk about this shit. Nobody's allowed to write. Nobody's allowed to do anything because it's like this big union, writers union thing. So I don't know. That's the strange part to me, and that's why I'm a little bit skeptical of it. But I'm also very excited at the same time. And I think this is going to be one of those things we're going to get these nuggets of information and these little taste test of what may be to come for a long time. And we're going to get super excited about it because we love this. We're going to hang on to every single word and every last detail and analyze the shit out of it and try to figure out what exactly they're going to do. But I'm cautiously optimistic that there really is some stuff going on behind the scenes that we might be getting a new movie or a TV series coming up, and maybe that announcement at age 45, which is super cool.
Yeah, I think the phrase that kind of is circling around in my mind is where there's smoke, there's fire. So even if everything we've heard is absolutely 100% dog shit and it's just internet trolls or whatever, if these insiders who I think, if you're going to be a Hollywood insider on Twitter, you got to have some respect for your name or nobody's going to follow you. But I think at the very least, like you said at the top of the show, that wheel is just starting to get cranked again. And that is enough for me to get excited. Just knowing that we knew, right? Like, and we've said it since episode 1 that this series isn't over just because they dropped Halloween Ends. There's going to be something done with it. But I think maybe even 1% doubt can fester in your mind, and you go, damn, what if some marketing asshole goes, the market for Halloween is dead or whatever, there's these 2 podcaster brother assholes, but other than that, nobody wants this anymore. You worry if something like that is going to happen, but it does excite me to see that maybe something's happening. I hadn't thought about the strike with age 45, but I am now. There is shit in my pants because if I can't talk to Ken Faree about everything in that scene, man.
Well, and here's the thing that was just one source. I just read that this afternoon about another convention that's happening, and they said don't be surprised if guests are unwilling to. And I don't know that they said that they won't talk, but I think if they said they are unwilling to talk because of the union stuff. So who knows? Ken Faree seems like he might be one of those guys who's like, fuck it, I don't care. Like I'm going to talk, right? I mean, I'm at that point in my career. I'm gonna talk. But who knows? Maybe some of the younger actors, like I look at like a Scout Taylor Compton or a Danielle Harris, somebody, these girls who are still very much involved in movie making, and they're in all kinds of different franchises and things like that. Like they might be, try to walk the line a little bit, where Ken Faree or some of those other guys might be like, piss on that. Like I'll tell you what you want to know.
Right. I could see, and she hasn't been announced, obviously, but like Jamie Lee Curtis, A-list celebrity, very much could be boycotting anything having to do with all this shit that's going down.
Right.
And I don't blame her either. But it is kind of a scary thing.
I still think she's going to get announced. I mean, Brad Lurie was on the show. We kind of did a little snippet of what he had to say. And Brad said he had heard that she was on for age 45. Now, that was a couple months ago. There could be a lot that has happened behind the scenes. Like you mentioned, even maybe the writer's strike stuff. Maybe she's kind of just backing out of it and she's going to stay away from all this stuff. It would be really disappointing if she's not there. But I still think I kind of like I wake up every day and I think it's going to happen if they're going to announce Jamie Lee Curtis and John Carpenter is the other one. If they're going to announce them, I think it's going to be like the final two guests. It's going to be like to get that last push of ticket sales. And I see that being an announcement that's made like, early to mid September, just maybe only a few weeks before the convention. I mean, they want to give people enough time to plan and to be there if you're traveling from out of state, like a lot of people are, like we are. But I don't know how this convention is going to be huge, bro. I mean, if you look at the list, and we talked about it, obviously Matt Arts went through the list with us on our Live 25 episode, and we looked at how big this is going to be. This is going to be huge. So, for me, if they were ever going to be at a convention, this really would be the one to be at. And like we've also mentioned, age 50, man, that's 5 years is not that long, but honestly, it is a long time. And guaranteed we're going to lose some of these actors over the next 5 years. So why not take advantage of this being maybe the final really big Halloween convention, and then more and more people maybe unfortunately falling off to the wayside or just not wanting to do it anymore. I mean, everybody's getting older. I mean, you look at some of the actors that were in 78 and 81 and Halloween 3. I mean, these people are getting older. Charles Cyphers, Dick Warlock. I mean, these guys are not unfortunately going to be around forever. So Jamie Lee Curtis, please show up. I will pay you $250 for your autograph. I will. Hopefully you throw in a picture with that. Doubtful. I'm sure I'm going to have to pay like another $100 to get a picture, but well worth it to have that. We talked about something, and I think what I'm going to do so obviously we have our Halloween rooms, and we can talk a little bit about your Halloween room that you're going to have a little transition going on. Austin is going to be a female here soon, and congratulations on that, on your transition. But Austin's going to be going through a little transition here in a minute. He can tell you about that. But I don't have a ton of room in my Halloween room anymore for like autographs and shit. So I think I'm going to get a Michael Myers mask. I'll probably get like the TOT 78. And I think I'm just going to have anybody who I get an autograph, I'm just going to have them sign that mask. And maybe besides like Tom Atkins, I don't know that I had to have him sign a Michael Myers mask, but I'd probably get his, an autograph of whatever, an 8x10 or something. But I think anybody actually involved in like the Michael Myers movies of the Halloween franchise, it's going to be a signed mask.
Yeah, I know. I'm still trying to figure out how I want to do it. Because you need something with some serious surface area, because like you said, it's going to be hard to walk with all the booths in that place. Like there are so many guests. It's going to be crazy. And so many people I want signatures from, and a minute of their time just to talk to them and tell them what these movies mean to me. But the room behind me, it's already starting to fall apart. It's happening. I am in the process, early stages of moving. So the setup will return in a different shape. But it's going to be a little iffy for a while. It's going to look a little bit like I'm reporting to you, sort of like circa 2002 Osama bin Laden, where people were trying to point out things in the background and you couldn't tell where he was at, just like OBL, just like OBL.
You got it.
I got there eventually. Thank you. I will be changing places.
Yeah. Well, and it might be a really good time. We haven't really even talked about making this announcement, but I feel like it's the time. It's only natural that we mention this, that we're going to be changing our whole setup altogether. And right now, you and I live about 30 minutes apart. When you move, we're going to be living about 5 minutes apart, which means that we're not going to be doing this 2-screen thing anymore. You and I are going to be much like we were in Live 25. We're going to be in the same room doing the podcast from the same area. You're going to have the same, kind of setup where we're each going to have our own mics and that whole thing, but we're going to be changing things up a little bit. And that I'm actually really excited to do that, because obviously we do this on a weekly basis, but it's going to be fun to actually just be able to sit in the room, because I feel like, and we found that out with Halloween, with the Live 25 episode, is it's just like, it's so much more natural to just bullshit and talk and sit next to each other and be able to look at each other when we talk. And, then you don't have to deal with internet issues or audio issues, like things not being synced up, technical difficulties, those kind of things between two different locations. So we're not exactly, we don't have a definitive date of when that's going to happen, but it's going to happen pretty quickly once Austin gets into his new place. And I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna do the full studio thing. Like, it is going to be a pretty thing to see, minus the two ugly guys. It's gonna be a pretty thing to watch and look at. And we're designing a little studio right now, and it should be a lot of fun. I think, like, we have some bigger plans for the YouTube channel in general, and just the podcast. And it's kind of the next step, the next elevation for us, which, by the way, we're about to hit a big ass milestone of 500 subscribers. And who knows, by next week we're recording, we could be there already. I hope we are. Thank you in advance. But
yeah, if you're watching this, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. We would really appreciate this. You subscribing to our show at this point. We love you. We want you to subscribe. We want you to enjoy this weekly content. Yeah, that's a huge accomplishment. And quite honestly, we sort of talked like we wanted to be at about 1,000 subs by the 1-year mark. And that's exactly where we're on pace for. So we obviously want to blow that number out of the water. We would love to be at 10,000 or 20,000 or whatever it might be. But like we've talked about, this is a very, there's probably a pretty small group of people who want to listen to Halloween content like this, Halloween franchise content on a weekly basis. We know there's, a lot of fans out there, but not everybody has the time to sit down and do this. But yeah, we love the fact that we're almost at 500 subs, and we're going to grow the channel a lot. Like we mentioned in the Live 25 episode, we've got some big plans for the channel, how we're going to expand, make things bigger. We talked about obviously coming together here shortly, having our studio. We're in the process of creating that now. And yeah, I'm really, really excited. The future is bright for Halloween Lives, the podcast of Michael Myers, as long as we have our fans and our supporters by our side, which we obviously greatly appreciate everybody who gives us the nice comments. I meant to we'll have to do this next week, but we've gotten some awesome letters or messages, I guess, on Instagram in the last week or two. People just talking about how they like the show and that kind of thing. And I was going to read some of those and I completely forgot to put them together. So I'll have to get that for next week's episode. But I do want to mention, it's been a few weeks since we have done a fan of the week, and we're going to bring back a fan who is a friend of the show. He's been on the show, and that is Dirty Gnome Dan, who was on with us for our Live 25 episode. And as you can see here, Dan is a talented artist. I don't have any talent like this at all. Austin does. I do not. So the fact that he's doing these sculptures, these clay miniature sculptures, is freaking awesome. And I also, what I really like about what he's doing is like the creativity with it. Like the one that you have front and center is the shape meets the Ghostbusters. Like what a freaking cool idea, I wanted to put that like right in front, because as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, what a great idea. And one of my favorite things that he does is, and he doesn't do this for all of them, but I put both of them or there are more, but I put two of them that I saw with it. And it's the old school, like not VHS, but tape record camcorder cassettes as the stand for the bass, right. Man. What a great idea. And it's something that like, I think kind of like fan or like home movies and Halloween horror movies go hand in hand. A lot of people have made like a
fan film when they were very young of Michael Myers or whatever. And I just remember recording on those things. And obviously you got to talk about the craftsmanship. They're really cool looking things. I mean, I think like the market for these kind of things has really blown up with like Funko Pops, and like bobbleheads, other sort of miniatures like this. Just to see it, handmade, hand painted, and coming at you for a reasonable price at dgstudios.storenvy.com. Check them out, or go to @DirtyGnomeDan if you want to see a little bit behind the scenes as well.
Yeah, so Dan was kind enough to come on the live show with us, and we got an opportunity to chat with him. Super cool guy. And he mentioned, one of the questions that I remember asking him was, I said, are you taking these things around to conventions? And he was kind of like, it's pretty difficult, right? Everything that's so expensive to have a booth, and it's a lot to travel with these things, which I completely understand. So one of the things that I know most about this community, meaning the horror community, is that we're really good at supporting each other. And the fact that Dan has gone out on a limb and he's doing this kind of thing, he's following his passion, what he loves, and taking that creativity and blending it with horror. We need to support guys like Dan out there, because this is awesome stuff. And quite honestly, we didn't have before, like Etsy and even maybe eBay and things like that. Like I remember when I was a kid, you would have never seen anything like this anywhere. I mean, yeah, you might have had obviously independent artists that did their own thing, but you never had the ability to buy this and purchase this kind of thing on your own. Here you got a guy like Dan who does all this stuff, this custom artwork and these clay sculptures. And I just think it's badass. And obviously very, there's a lot of time that goes into these things. I don't know necessarily the process or how long it takes him, but I have to assume this is not something that he knocks these things out in 10 minutes. This is a lot of time that he's putting into it. So yeah, please go out and check out Dirty Gnome Dan. He's on Instagram. Austin mentioned his website there. Check him out. Go support him. And support another member of the horror community who's doing something that he loves. So Dan, thank you once again for coming on the show. Obviously Live 25, we mentioned you that we were going to get you on as a fan of the week, and we're guys that keep our promises. So if you would like to be a fan of the week, please reach out to us. Hit us up on Instagram at halloween.lives.podcast. And let us know that you want to be the fan of the week. Send us your photos, whatever it might be. There's a ton of people out there who just absolutely love this franchise. We've featured some of them, obviously, already in some of our previous shows. But there's a lot of people out there who just have great collections and great stories and things like that to share. And we're always looking to connect with those people. And once again, that's why I'm so excited to get out to age 45, because it's like, God damn it, we're going to get to talk. Like everybody, and you mentioned this, I think, in the live show. Everybody who is at age 45, is a fan, because to spend that kind of money, especially for people like us who are coming out of state, to spend that kind of money to go to that convention, you are a fan of this. It's not just a horror convention where, there might be one actor that you really want to see, or there's like one thing that you really want to do there. This is huge. This is like the holy grail of Halloween, of Halloween conventions, or, horror conventions in my mind, especially obviously with the franchise. So I'm most excited to get out there and honestly see just other like-minded fans. I think that's going to be a blast.
Totally. It's going to be, a lot of the people we've talked to, we're going to meet up with their people we've seen on the show. It's going to be really just cool to put faces to names, and meet these guys who, like Dan, are so passionate about this franchise. And one thing that I always want to put into perspective when it comes to guys like Dirty Gnome Dan is, I remember back in the day on Fright Stuff or michaelmyers.net, this guy who had a little company that made great Michael Myers masks, but he was an independent guy, and he goes by Justin Mabry. And he's obviously running Trick or Treat Studios. He's doing big things, making Hollywood effects, everything. I mean, he is a guy who is just out there trying to share his love for the community, just like Dirty Gnome Dan. So support these guys, let them live out their dreams.
I actually just saw it just today. I saw a Justin Mabry, a night owl shat mask that he had made. And I was like, oh my God, I wish I had like another $600 just laying around because I want one so bad. But here's the other issue. I got a big goddamn head. And, you know, even like this mask right here it's like a 25 or 25 and a half inch mask. And it's a little big on me. But all of these Michael Myers masks are like 22 and a half, 23 and a half inches. It's like, who's these guys? This fits some, maybe my head is just so big that it's not fits the average size, the average size mask. But that's the unfortunate part is I want some of these masks, but it's like, unless I'm going to use them simply as a display piece, which I'm not going to do, I'm going to wear them. It's got to be able to fit, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, that is a huge problem. I've probably got a bigger head than you, and it is it's tough.
You've got a massive melon.
I do, and like I've got big shoulders, but not big enough to warrant. I still look a little bobbleheady. But yeah, no, it is one of the hardest parts about like finding a mask is, and I think that's why I've gravitated so much towards the Tots masks is because I can go to Spirit Halloween, throw it on, and see if I look like I'm like in a car crash after I wear it. But yeah, no, it's just one of those things where, you know, the community is not, you don't get to pick a mask in small, medium, large, and XL.
Right. It does. Yeah. We need to rise up. Us big headed people, horror fans, need to rise up and say, be fair to us with big heads, because it's not easy to find masks for big-headed people, but nevertheless, it's neither here nor there. Guys, that is going to do it for this episode of Halloween Lives, the podcast of Michael Myers. What do you think? Are we going to get a new movie? Are we going to get a new TV show? We'd love to hear from you. Please make sure you mention in the comments what you think we're going to get. Give us a like, give us a follow, subscribe for the love of God. Let us hit 500. I think we're going to do it. I think by the time we come back here with episode number 30, I think we're either going to be at 500 or really damn close. So please make sure you subscribe to this if you've not done so already. We obviously appreciate any support you're willing to give us. And that's going to do it. This is episode number 29. I'm Blaine Duncan, and that is my brother. Thank you guys so much for watching, for listening. Again, we appreciate the support, and we'll see you next time.